So Brittany, I think. Welcome to our webinar on Meet the Faculty, first year faculty in the Honors College. We have quite a few of our faculty members here joining us this evening. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome as well. For those who are here live, you can either just turn on your microphone to ask questions throughout the webinar, or down at the bottom, you can type questions in the chat where you'll see something that just popped up if you're here live. I'll read those questions to our faculty and hopefully we can provide some answers for you. Let's go around the room and just introduce ourselves so you get a sense of who everybody is. I'm Jim Buss, again, Dean of the Honors College. Brittany, why don't you start?
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany Beal. I'm the coordinator of admissions for Honors College.
Dr. Krause?
I'm Tanya Krause, and I am the coordinator of the first year experience in honors, and I teach first year honors classes. I've been at NKU for a while. I started off as a professor in the English department. I don't know, you'll find out more about me as we continue talking.
Dr. Downing.
Hi, I'm Megan Downing. I'm a professor in organizational leadership, and which is in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I also teach first year honors classes.
Thank you. Dr. Zlatkin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Zlatkin. I teach in the first year experience program. Mostly what I'm teaching right now are the pre-med, pre-nursing, and pre-health classes. So if you're interested in those, we can chat more.
And Dr. Wood.
Hi, I'm Leanne Wood. I am a professor in the music department, the music program in the School of the Arts, but I also teach several honors classes. I teach as part of the first year experience. I lead one of the learning communities kind of aimed at arts majors, so visual arts, music, theater, dance, etc. I also lead one of the pre-health learning communities, and sometimes I'll teach sort of upper division honors classes around music and the arts as well.
Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. So I think what it demonstrates is this is not all of the faculty who teach in the first year program, but those who could join us this evening. But you've already heard kind of the diverse backgrounds of our faculty who teach in the first year program from different departments, different colleges, different departments. And so that's what I think is really exciting about the first year program is we really aim to serve students from all areas of campus. The Honors College has students in literally every degree program and every academic program at NKU. And we pull from faculty from all of those areas. And so we really are here to develop a program that's tailored to meet your needs. So I have a few questions to kind of prep to ask our faculty. And again, if you're watching us live, you want to type a question in the chat, I'll ask that. Or if you want to just turn on your microphone, and you can jump in. I will warn you, if you do that, you will appear on the YouTube video. But anyone who's not speaking kind of remains, in the background until you speak when it comes to recording for the video. So, but anyway, my first question for each of you is really thinking about the first year experience and what does that look like for students? So most of our students take honors. Well, let's focus on Honors 101. What does that mean? What is this like Honors 101 course? What can students expect coming to NKU? Not quite the living learning experience, we'll get to that, or the learning communities, but just in general, like what is this Honors 101 or Honors 102? What's that first year look like?
Well, I can start with that. And I'm probably a good person to start with that in that back in my life, when I was less embedded in honors and when I was teaching in the English department, most students who come to NKU who are not in honors end up taking English 101, English 102. They take a speech class, and those are part of the core requirements of the university. So if you decide to come to honors, basically you'll take Honors 101 and 102 instead. And what makes that experience different? One thing about our courses is that they're very thematically based and they're very discussion based. They're small classes. You will not experience a ton of lecturing. really part of what we do in the first year experience is we really build community, intellectual community for our students. And so, yes, there's community in the college in terms of social experiences and opportunities to do things outside the classroom. The first year experience is really that opportunity to build intellectual community with your peers. It also gives you a lot of access to faculty that you might not feel like you experience in your other courses in your first year. I know that I'm on campus every single day and I meet one-on-one with my students a great deal. I also try to incorporate opportunities, and this is something that we do across all of our Honors 101 classes, especially, is we bring speakers from the community to talk to students and connect things we're doing in the classroom to the real world, and to connect the things they're learning about to possible career paths and possible opportunities to get involved in the community. And so I think those are some things that make Honors 101 and 102 a really special experience for students. I'll also say that we really emphasize students doing their own inquiry-based learning. What are you curious about? What do you want to learn about? Those are going to be the things that you write and speak about in our classes. It's not a situation where you come to class and then the professor pontificates and then you try to please them. Instead, Honors 101 and 102 really try to teach you to be your own scholar and to let your curiosity drive your learning. So that would be my pitch for Honors 101 and 102.
I want to piggyback on that because this is my second year teaching in honors, and I really, really enjoy, engaging with these first year students. But I wanted to share just what I get from them, and that is, again, emphasizing what Dr. Krause said about building community. Honors gives students immediately a sense of community in what is otherwise an unfamiliar environment. You immediately have very strong connections, not just with the college dean and the staff like Brittany, who are there doing these very personal connections with you right away, but Dr. Krause and the other honors faculty as well. Everybody being very approachable, but also with your peers, immediately building those friendships and connections with similar interests and engaging opportunities. And so the students emphasize how important that community is, that very immediate sense of community that they have, and building that community, but also learning about university resources and being connected to those resources, and essentially almost feeling like you're part of this family right away. NQ is a very place-bound, community-oriented institution in the first place, but honors really helps you to get started on the right foot right away, and helps to, mitigate any insecurities that you might have starting out in the college environment.
I'll piggyback as well a little bit on something Dr. Krause mentioned, was that sort of exploration of getting to meet other people, other professionals, learning about different career options. And your first semester in college can feel like a really early time to start thinking about that. But at the same time, a lot of students maybe like pick a major and feel kind of locked into it somehow. But I think honors classes, especially Honors 101, gives you some flexibility and some space to think about your options. We have a dedicated honors advisor who will also help you think through those options. And we have honestly a lot of students who change their mind in those first little while, or they might add on something, or they just think a little bit differently about their path through the university. Plenty of students decide what they love and they keep going with it. But I think honors is really nice in that it's kind of an open, like a sandbox, almost a place to kind of play around with your ideas and explore your interests and decide what's really driving your passion and your interests. And it kind of can help shape the rest of your college career.
I think part of what helps with the building of that community, which everybody's been talking about, is just the classes tend to be smaller and we tend to kind of circle up so that everybody can see everybody and you're kind of in a room chatting with each other, you know. We also, though, have peer mentors for the first year students who are honors students who have been through the first year experience. They might be sophomores, juniors, or seniors at NKU in the Honors College. And they really make an effort to connect with the students. They're doing this voluntarily because they really want to help first year students have a place to go or have somebody who's been through it before from the student side of things that they can go to and ask questions of. So I think that's something also that's really unique that we tend to offer in the Honors 101 and 102 classes that you wouldn't necessarily get in other first year classes.
So my next question to each of the faculty, because I think, you know, we've talked about community and how we build that in the first year with an honors, how we, you know, sort of how students are empowered to kind of seek their own research, kind of build their own themes in their own classes. One of the other things we emphasize is experiential sort of learning, kind of the hands-on stuff in that first year. So instead of sitting in a lecture and just, you know, taking notes and then taking a test, kind of what sort of question for each of you, or something to think about, maybe 2 or 3 really quick examples of things that you do in your classroom that are not, you know, taking an exam or sort of what students might think of as a traditional kind of what a college classroom might look like. So can you give a couple examples each of experiential learning that you do in with your Honors 101 or 102 students in their first year?
I mean, I can go first again, but no, Megan, you go. Talk about Mayerson.
That's what I was going to do. I was like, well, I can go ahead and start this one. In my honors classes, I incorporate something called experiential student philanthropy or student philanthropy. Different people use different terms for it. But here at the university in our Scripps Howard Center for Civic Engagement, one of the initiatives that we've had for over 20 years is something called the Mayerson Student Philanthropy Project. And the way this works is that there are outside donors that help to fund this program, and faculty who are interested in including it in their curriculum apply for a $2,000 grant, usually $1,000 to $2,000. And then they integrate this essentially learning by giving concept teaching method into their curriculum for their course. And so you align it with the course learning outcomes. And I teach 2 classes, and I might be crossing over into Jim's next topic, but one of them is on civic engagement and servant leadership, and the other is about leadership. And you know, leadership is connected to being an engaged citizen as well. So one focuses on servant leadership, the other looks at general community engagement and such. So we incorporate the Mayerson Student Philanthropy Project into the course, and in it, the students research, visit, and interview people from local nonprofits, learn about the work that they are doing. The students get to choose those nonprofits or the programs that the nonprofits are doing, learn more about them. And then ultimately the class decides how to award this money to a nonprofit that they select based on what they've learned and what they've discussed in the decision-making process that they choose. So students, the feedback that I've gotten from students is that it is an incredibly meaningful experience. It helps put, you know, makes the learning real, that they are able to connect it to the concepts that we're focusing on during the semester, and be able to unpack the concepts about leadership, civic engagement, being an engaged citizen, and learning about the needs in the community and how an individual can make, with a small amount of money, can make a very big difference. And so the feedback from students with this hands-on learning that's connected to the course learning outcomes has been very, very positive. And so it's something that I and other honors faculty use as part of our experiential learning process.
So I can talk about a couple of things that I've really incorporated into both Honors 101 and 102. So Honors 101, my focus has tended to be on identity and community at first in the first semester at NKU. So what does it mean to be part of this community of the university? And so two things really connect to that this semester. So I'm teaching a social justice learning community. So the students who chose that learning community are really interested in activism and what it means to make a place equitable and just. Okay, so I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But so one thing that we've done in our class is we've participated in the Humans of Greater Cincinnati project, which is something that the Honors College inaugurated last year that really gives students the opportunity to tell their stories. So tell the story of what brought them to NKU, what sort of was their journey to this point. Also to connect with people on campus to talk about their experiences. And so if you go to Humans of Greater Cincinnati on Instagram, also I think is it hogc@nku.edu or .nku.edu? But you can sort of see these pictures that students have taken. So they're creating visual narratives and then they're writing these narratives that are really powerful, both about who they are and about this place that they've come to. So that's one thing that we've done in my Honors 101. Another thing that we've done in Honors 101 this semester is there's a placemaking initiative on campus as part of the common experience for all first-year students. And so students have been invited to come up with their own placemaking ideas about taking a space on campus and using it to express our values and create something that people can participate in and engage in. And so my students just finished pitching possible projects for that, and that's going to be something that carries over into next semester. Finally, in my Honors 102 classes, which have the far over-promising title of The Meaning of Life, which I do not purport to know, but one of the things we try to do is explore meaning and think about both what's meaningful to us personally, but also how do we connect that and make it meaningful for other people too. We have worked with Mark Nykirk in the Scripps Howard Center for Civic Engagement in connecting with the west side of the city of Newport. And students do this sort of team project in Honors 102 where they get out into the community and learn about some ways to become active and do some stuff, whether that's something like tree planting in the neighborhood, whether it's something like, you know, volunteering at the Brighton Center, but finding ways that the campus experience isn't the limit of their experience over the 4 years. In fact, they can really extend themselves beyond the campus and really become part of this region. And I know you, Rachel, have been doing stuff in Covington, so I want you to talk about that.
That was an easy segue. You made it hard not to go next. So I'll say a couple things about the pre-health, pre-med, pre-nursing learning communities, and then I'll talk a little bit about what Dr. Kraus brought up with the nonprofit I work with in Northern Kentucky and Covington. For the students who are in the health field, every class that I teach that's a 101 and a 102, and at the 200 level even, goes through a simulation. And one of the awesome things for students interested in the a degree with health and working with in that field when they graduate or going on to medical school or another professional school in the field, is that the Honors College is actually housed inside our Health Innovation Center. So we actually have two different simulation labs, one that is set up to imitate a hospital setting, and then another one where you can set up, say, an apartment where something happens, or a physician's office or something like that. And so these simulations are basically real life scenarios. Some of them use actors, some of them have talking, breathing, heart beating mannequins that tend to talk to you if they're alert. And you go through a scenario. It really takes a few sessions, where you observe kind of the details of the situation. And then as a class, you discuss a plan of action, and then students go in and enact the plan and get to see, how it unfolds. The other thing that I'll say about the community engagement is one of the things that I do love about honors is that some of our 101 and 102 and first year experience classes are not specifically for a certain major or interest area. And so you wind up in a class because everybody in the class likes the topic. And so that's something that I'm doing next semester at the 200 level. And that'll include some community engagement where we're going to study different systems of health, both Western and Eastern, and then come up with a plan and bring that into a local community in Covington, Kentucky, and work with an after school program. So stuff like that can also happen, but everybody's kind of in that, not just the health students. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I will chime in also. I don't do anything quite as intensively community oriented as my colleagues, but I will say for my 102 class that I teach in the spring, the theme is music and power. And one of the early activities I asked my students to do is to go on a sound walk, which is basically a really sort of deep, intensive listening experience. And they get to pick whatever, they could do a sound walk around campus and really carefully listen to the sounds of NKU's campus. They could do it in their neighborhood. I've had students do it on their front porch. So these different ways of kind of experiencing your world and understanding your world. And I'll also throw in there that something that we all do in terms of experiences within the university. There is a first year research conference that we actually ask students to participate in, and you get to model on a very sort of safe, limited scale what it means to share your ideas and to share your research with your peers, your classmates. And so there's a really nice mixing up of all of the different 101 classes and students, and you get to share the really cool stuff that you've been working on, and you get to hear what all of your very interesting and intelligent classmates are also working on.
And I'll just say one more thing about the Student Research Conference, because it's really exciting. One of the things that's exciting about it is it happens sort of late in the semester. So it happens around, the last fourth of the semester is when the research conference happens. And at that point, everyone has become really comfortable with their classmates. You've been in these, really intense discussions, and you've shared your writing with each other. You've shared your ideas with each other. The thing that's exciting about the research conference is it allows you to have a conversation with all those people that are not in your class. And at first that's a little scary, because it's scary to be vulnerable and share what you're thinking about. But it's also exciting because you realize that what you're doing in your small class makes you part of something bigger, and that everyone's taking intellectual risks and everybody has these amazing ideas. And really that is the foundation for a lot of students that then leads them on to do undergraduate research with a faculty mentor, or that leads them, to go and do their own community engagement project, or to have their own idea for a startup, or to have their own thing that they're going to go achieve. And that really that first year experience is the launching pad for that. And I can tell you that I see students that are seniors now, and some of what they're working on as their capstone directly connects back to that first year idea they had. And so the first year isn't just something to get over with in honors. It's something that really enriches your entire college experience. And so I know I'm kind of being a huge cheerleader for this, but every year I'm both exhausted and excited at the end of that student research conference. So.
Yeah, so I think the major theme that we hear here and that really I think resonates in honors is that it's an experience. I mean, we keep talking about the first year experience, not here's a class you take. And I do think that that's true of the entire honors experience, is that our classes are engaged, they're getting you out in the community, they're connecting you to professionals in your field. Dr. Zlatkin, I know you've taken students to the cadaver lab for pre-med, over to the College of Medicine to connect them with people there. That what we're really trying to do is to give you a really in-depth experience that really extends well beyond the classroom. I also wanted to mention that we've talked about small classes, and really what we're talking about here is, 18 students or fewer, some of our class, 14 to 18 students that you really get to work with a faculty member. So when we talk about getting to know you, we really get to know you because our classes are small. It's easy to engage with the faculty member. We all hang around a lot, so it's easy to come in and visit and say hello in person or hop online and talk and speak with us. So it is, it's about community, it's about those experiences, those kinds of things. One of the other things that we do for first year students is build learning communities that are really kind of focused on different areas, whether that's themes that students are interested in or professional development that has to do with, career choices that students would like to make. So I wonder if each of you's taught courses in these learning communities, help develop things like lunch and learns, which are bringing people in. So I wondered if you could share a little bit about the learning communities that you're in, with which you're involved, and maybe some examples of people that you brought in for lunch and learns to help connect students outside of the classroom. Maybe one example of somebody that you thought that, yeah, that's really cool. That person really stands out. And so I wonder if we could kind of go around and talk about that. And also for those of you watching, I also teach in the first year experience program. I'm kind of stepping aside here to let everyone else speak, but I usually teach the entrepreneurship or the first year experience courses, Honors 101 and 102, that are tied to kind of students from the College of Business, entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, business entrepreneurship. So but I'll stay a little bit out of this conversation and let the rest of you speak, but wanted to mention.
I'll go ahead and start here. So I mentioned that I'm a music historian by training, and my class is centered kind of around music, but just the arts more generally for students who are pursuing arts majors. A couple of lunch and learn speakers that I brought in this semester. One has worked extensively in arts administration. That is like the sort of people who are in charge of running museums or running a symphony orchestra or managing a ballet, or even doing something maybe smaller like running a community center that offers music lessons or dance classes for kids or something like that. And another one I brought in kind of cross-listed maybe a little bit with entrepreneurship classes. And she was a dual major in college between chemistry and music. And then she decided to kind of shift paths a little bit, and she opened her own music studio in Fort Thomas, which is like just one town over from where NKU is located. So she was able to talk a little bit about how she sort of found her passions in the years following college, and got started as an entrepreneur almost by accident, and how she's really like getting engaged with her community and using her talents and her training to really make a difference in her community. So.
I'm going to sneak in real quick, if that's okay, because I have to sneak out a little early today. But I think honestly, some of my favorite people that I've invited to lunch and learns, honestly, are the most practical. Because I teach largely students who are interested in a very particular profession, but it can also, if you're a first generation student or the medical field is not something that's, for example, in your family as a career and you're the first one who's choosing to go into the health field, it can be really intimidating. And so for me, some of my favorite experiences have been inviting somebody who is already an MD and a surgeon and is working on the floor, who comes and just talks about how they made choices as they went through pre-med and medical school, and what it's like for students who don't have anybody to talk to and don't know what it's like, but want to go there, you know. And I've even seen students kind of follow up with some of these physicians and wind up shadowing them at the hospital. I've had Casey Boathard, who does the admissions for the College of Medicine at UK here at the NKU campus, come and talk to students just about the admissions process. And even though they're first year students, it's really something that you're kind of building that profile for the next 4 years. And it helps just to know what's coming in advance. And so for me, those are the most meaningful lunch and learns, are when I see students who don't necessarily have the connections or just the access to information about what these kinds of schools and programs are like, or the exams are like. And they really want to ask those questions and have that information at hand, that these lunch and learns give them the opportunity to ask those questions. And I don't think that's unique just for what I'm doing in the health field. I feel like that's true kind of for all of the lunch and learns we have, regardless of what somebody's interests are, that it really helps you make these connections beyond, again, what we've been talking about, beyond NKU and beyond the honors college even. I mean, it's a really significant experience to be able to get on the floor and shadow a surgeon, you know, and see a heart surgery. You know, it can be a life-changing moment, and it has been for some students. Yeah, and it's happened because of a lunch and learn. That's my big final huzzah for the honors college, everybody. Because I have to sneak out, I have my email and my name in the chat now, in case anybody wants to follow up. Okay. Bye, everybody. Sorry I had to leave early. I'll see you all again soon.
So, following what Dr. Zlatkin was just talking about in terms of sort of the practical nature of some of her favorite lunch and learns, I think some of the favorite speakers that I've brought in have basically been people that I was able to bring in because of my network of former students. So bringing in former honors students to speak and talking about how their careers developed after honors, and talking about how their honors experiences kind of led them down a path that maybe wasn't the path that they imagined. So for example, one of my former students from when I was teaching in the English department, whose honors capstone I advised, was an English major. She was an English major and a double major in Spanish. And when we began working on her capstone, she wasn't entirely sure what she wanted to do. And she ended up applying to law school. And now she's an immigration lawyer in downtown Cincinnati. And she was able to come in and talk about what the process of applying to law school was like, to talk about how even though she didn't major in pre-law or criminal justice, how law school was something that was possible for her. And the fact that she was able to find a way to bring the skills that she learned in her majors to a career path that maybe wasn't something that was obvious when she started off being an English-Spanish double major. So that was a person who I thought had a lot of really interesting things to say, and who was a fairly recent graduate. So students could kind of see themselves, you know, as they might be in 5 years, 10 years. Another person that came in who was an amazing Lunch and Learn speaker was Asina Beck, who at the time was the director of the Children's Law Center in Northern Kentucky, but who now is a judge in Kenton County. And we're trying to get her back. But she was fantastic. I mean, she herself was a first generation college student. She ended up coming to NKU to chase law school, not really sure how she was going to find a career in law, and ended up really just blossoming as a result of her training at NKU and then going on to work in an organization that really advocates for children and their legal needs in a lot of different situations. And so finding a way to do service while at the same time pursuing a career path that was going to lead to her personal success was really a lot of her story. And, you know, one of our first year students was invited to then, you know, go and intern at the Children's Law Center. So, you know, really it, you know, these Lunch and Learn speakers can really both show you the future, but also provide you with mentorship that a faculty member can't give you because we're not in the career path that you want to be in. And so one of the things that I think is unique about honors is that none of our faculty is just trying to replicate ourselves. We, in fact, want to sort of lead you to your future, not to a future that looks just like ours. So.
The guest speakers and Lunch and Learn folks that I invite in, I try to find individuals that will connect to the learning community theme for my course. So I mentioned before that I teach one that is on servant leadership and civic engagement. The one I'm teaching this semester is leadership and society. And we look at leadership from different aspects of society, including the work of nonprofits and of private citizens, the work of those who are in the political realm, as well as those in the corporate sector. So for this course, I had one individual who wasn't able to do a Lunch and Learn, so she zoomed in as a guest speaker to the class, and her name is Lauren Worley, and she is in the marketing department at Procter & Gamble. But she's highly involved in their work on corporate social responsibility. And she was a really dynamic and engaging speaker and was able to answer a lot of questions about the work that happens at Procter & Gamble and how this very, very large corporation, it has so many employment opportunities and all, because it's like a city, it has all these different departments. And she talked about all the different departments and how, whatever area they're interested in, even if it is community engagement and supporting the community, you can still be involved with Procter & Gamble. So that was very interesting to students. Dr. Ryan Salzman happens to be a professor in political science here at Northern Kentucky University, but he's also a city council person in Bellevue, in the small town of Bellevue. And he's very involved in the placemaking. That's his research area. And so he came and did a Lunch and Learn that kind of covered the gamut of those things, because I needed someone who could speak with a political background because of the importance of being engaged in that influence of the political side of things on a community and on leadership in that community and the influence thereof. But also he was able to speak to placemaking and tell a little bit about his journey and how he wound up where he is today. And then we had Scott Provancher, if I'm saying his name right. He is an outstanding individual who has a music background, but now is the head of an organization that supports nonprofit initiatives. And he was able to speak to the class about very large scale nonprofit initiatives and the complexity of those things. So they would recognize there's grassroots nonprofits, but there's also those very large initiatives, like being able to help fund and support and coordinate the important nonprofit work that is necessary to keep places like Music Hall and the art museum and such, keep them operating, that they need a little extra help to make those things happen, since they aren't profit generating organizations, so to speak. So bringing in people from all of those different realms. And then the other class, which was focused on servant leadership and civic engagement, we brought in, again, a Covington City Council person. We brought in a person who's an NKU alum, who started her own nonprofit in the greater Cincinnati area. So bringing in folks that showed how you could be civically engaged and serve the community and contribute, that everybody can be a leader in the community by doing those things. So bringing these examples of individuals from all different walks of life just really helps to enrich the learning experience.
One thing I'll just add quickly is that when we invite guests to speak at Lunch and Learns, or guests to come to our classes, or guests who are going to be part of an event for honors, it's always very participatory and interactive. It is not some formal thing where people are talking at you. You have the opportunity to ask any question that pops into your head. We always inform people that we invite that this is not them just, giving a PowerPoint speech and then walking out of the room, that in fact, we don't want that. What we really want is for students to get an opportunity to have a conversation. So, don't imagine like a high school assembly where you have to listen to some boring person talk. That's not what we're about. So.
Yeah, I'll say that we started these as Lunch and Learns. Quite literally, it was an hour lunch with a guest, and it was just very casual and laid back. And we've tried to do that. A lot of them are online now through Zoom, but they're small. It's, a handful to a dozen students. And, I've invited CEOs of companies for the entrepreneurship, mayors of cities, founders of their own businesses to meet with students. And really, they just show up with lunch and chat for an hour, answer questions. And so it's a great opportunity. Brittany, you have a very unique perspective on the Lunch and Learns, because you're like a fly on the wall for all of them. So for those of you that watching, Brittany really helps coordinate all of the Lunch and Learns and really gets to attend more than I think any of us. I wonder if over the years you have a favorite that sort of sticks out.
I don't know about a specific, since I do attend all of them. It's hard to pick just one, and the topics are truly very, very vast, and the guests are from all different aspects of any career you could imagine. But the most fascinating ones are the ones that kind of have stories that are so unexpected that maybe they majored in one thing, similar to what Dr. Krause was talking about with her former student, but then found their pathway to a career. And oftentimes it's a career that maybe they didn't even know existed, or our current students who are attending the Lunch and Learn don't even know exist in the local community. So that's always fascinating to see our current students interacting with guests who have careers in fields that they aren't even familiar with, they didn't even know was a possibility after college. And so, yeah, like I said, that's always really interesting. And just most of our guests are willing to share kind of the ups and downs, the true stories of how they got to where they got, where they are now. And I just think it's so helpful and beneficial to our students. And definitely, I feel very lucky to be able to attend all of those. So, and they are open. So all the Lunch and Learns are open to all students, not just first year students. Anyone could attend in honors. I don't know if we mentioned that, but you might see one not related to your Honors 101 or not related to your field of study, but you could, of course, attend any of them. So really be able to open your eyes to possibilities that you might not even know about.
I think one of my favorite was brought someone in who was a ballerina, male ballerina, and then worked in politics in Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill, and then ended up at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, and then ended up founding 2 tech companies and sold them both. And, kind of a venture capitalist. Talk about like an interesting life journey, right? But that person came and talked to students and gave advice about if they were interested in getting involved in national politics. He had that experience, starting their own company, or even, how to work for Procter and Gamble if that was something that they were interested in long term. So yeah, the guests are just kind of, I don't know, 30, 40 a year at least. And, a couple, we have 2 this week, for example. It's a couple a week throughout the semester. And really I've seen students shadow doctors that they've met during the lunch and learns, intern in law offices, get job offers. Actually, we have one student in business who is working for one of our lunch and learn speakers after they graduated. So it's just interesting to see kind of like what all happens through these opportunities. So we're kind of drawing to a close for the evening, and I had one final question to ask our faculty and honors. And if you're out there and you have questions, please type them into the chat. We're happy to answer those. But my final question anyway, is kind of the moderator tonight, is what's your favorite thing about teaching honors students, particularly in the first year?
They're engaged and excited, and they come to class.
That's a hard question, I have to say. I think my favorite thing is, every honors student comes in wanting to have a rich experience in college. So there's this baseline where everyone's coming in with this desire to have a great first year and to have a great college experience. And everyone's coming in with different backgrounds and different wishes for how that's going to look. But it's also the case that everyone's coming in, with talents and something to offer, right? So that's the baseline. But what's exciting for me is watching students go from that very first day of their freshman year to who they become by the end of that first year experience, and watching them become less afraid to get the wrong answer, watching their confidence develop in entering into an intellectual debate, or watching them stop apologizing like, oh, I might be getting this wrong. But by the end of Honors 102, they're not couching their opinions in those things. They have conviction, and they're not afraid to put themselves out on a limb a little bit. And to me, if you're going to have an exciting intellectual experience at university, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to have a weird idea or to try something out, even if it might not work. And that's the kind of intellectual experience I get to facilitate for students. So for me, that's the exciting thing. The exciting thing is not, it's great that students do great things and win awards and get great GPAs and all of that, but that's not the thing that I care about. The thing I care about is that by the end of that first year, you see where students have really become more of themselves, and they understand that they're a whole person and they get to be a whole person, and that honors is one piece of that can help them do all the stuff they want to do. So that's what I'm excited about in the honors classroom.
I'll echo all of that. You basically stole my answer, Dr. Krause, but I will add also that in our classes, in most honors classes, we tend to embed kind of reflective activities. So often at the end of the semester, a student has to reflect back on and maybe even write a letter to the person they were on the first day of the semester. And it's not just us as professors that get to see that and kind of think about those developments, that the students actually get to see that as well, and they write about it. So that's really, it's a really lovely thing for professors to get to see that it's not just us that get to see your development over a semester, or sometimes even across the entire year if we teach you in both the fall and the spring semesters. But the students are really like realizing these changes in themselves. That's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think from my own personal experience, pick up on something that you said, Dr. Krause, that I really feel like I'm facilitating a course more than trying to lecture or teach a class. And that speaks to the stuff we were talking about earlier, that honors courses, they're small, they're intimate, there's 15 to 18 students, and you really get a chance to facilitate discussion and allowing students, empowering them to kind of find themselves, their own research, things that they're interested in, digging deeper in those, and then equipping them with the skills to be able to do something with that and preparing them for success moving forward. I want to thank our faculty tonight for joining us. If there's any questions that anyone who's out there, please type that in the chat or just turn on your microphone and you can ask those. This video will be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you didn't catch the whole thing, just look up NKU Honors College on YouTube and you'll find our channel with all of our webinars there. This one and others, including how to fill out the application, meeting with current students, alumni, stuff like that over the past year. So I will wait just a second to see if there's any other questions or anything that we've missed that you really want to know about tonight. Please feel free to go ahead and ask those now.
They'll learn not to be so shy if they come to NKU and are in honors.
Well, I understand. Yeah, I understand it with the webinars a little bit.
I know.
But I hope you learned something. I hope met some of our wonderful faculty. There are dozens and dozens more who are part of the college. Thank you, Dr. Downing, Dr. Wood, Dr. Krause for joining us this evening. Dr. Zlakin, who had to step out just a little bit earlier. Brittany, thank you for helping this evening as well. A few of us, I'll stick around past the recording if anybody has any private questions they want to answer, but otherwise have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, if you're watching this on YouTube, whatever time that is. And we hope to look forward to the next webinar. Brittany, do you have information on future opportunities to become more engaged in the Honors College if you want to do that?
So our next webinar topic will be in 2 weeks. Is it the November? Will that be November 6th?
I think so.
November 6th, and it will be with some recent honors alumni talking about kind of their life after honors, after graduation, and how maybe honors benefited them and helped get them to where they are. So looking forward to them joining us for that one, and hopefully our guests will join us for that one as well.
And if you're watching before November 17th, we have the Closer Look, which is an on-campus event in person where you can come visit NKU for half a day or a full day, meet honors students, honors faculty, honors staff, NKU staff and faculty, and learn more about NKU, take tours of our spaces, see the Honors College, our residence halls, those kinds of things. So if you're interested in any of these things, go to nku.edu/honors, and there's a spot there for future prospective students, and there's information about visiting us both virtually and in person. We look forward to seeing you either at a future webinar or at one of our events on campus. Also, if you happen to be on campus or you have another tour or another visit scheduled and you'd like a private tour of honors, please go to that website as well, and you can set up a private tour or a private conversation with us to come over to the Honors College to learn more and meet some of us in person on our campus. So everyone have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.